Good morning, everyone. I'm Richard Harrison, and welcome 7th of August for this week's Tuesday morning coffee club. Although I was running late this morning, didn't get my cup of coffee, so it's the Tuesday morning glass of water club for me. But before we dive into things today, I'd like to just spend a moment talking about what's been a very, very tough week for a lot of people in the UK, particularly international people who have chosen to come to the UK and make our country a better place. It's been a very tough week following the tragic event in Southport. Our hearts and thoughts go out to those who lost people. And unfortunately, tragic events often bring out the worst actions from the worst people, which is what we've seen. But we want everyone watching this to rest assured that these actions don't represent the views of the majority of British people. And as Karen said to me earlier on, not only does it unfortunately bring out the worst of the worst people, but it also brings out the best of the rest. So hopefully you'll see that you're appreciated by the vast majority of people within the UK. And in fact, most of you, especially entrepreneurs, international entrepreneurs coming to the UK, will actually contribute a lot more to society and a lot more to our economy than these so-called patriots. So we extend our thanks to you, but please be safe, please be sensible, and rest assured that a sense of normality will return once order has been resumed. I mean, you sometimes find every 3 to 4 years something tragic, or even sometimes it's a movement. The Black Lives Movement, the Black Lives Matters movement resulted in some similar protests where it brings out the worst in the worst, and it gives them a reason to cause riot. But these things do pass. Normality is resumed, and hopefully you will see how much you are appreciated and cared for within the UK. Let's move on. Let's move on to happier, more positive things. I mentioned in the last paragraph, or the last moment, economic contribution. And economic contribution, I'm not sure where it currently stands, but economic contribution was always the purpose of this specific visa route. Some time ago, it was about 2 years ago, whilst the Innovator Founder visa route was being developed, Priti Patel made a statement along the lines of the purpose of this route is to facilitate economic contributions to the country. It shouldn't be seen as another route just for migration. So the whole point there is what we're looking at is helping people build thriving businesses. And that is the purpose for the viability and, more important, the scalability criteria. But to get there, building a successful business is very, very difficult. Geminus Innovation is the company that runs Innovator International. We've been running that now for 8 years, and it took us 4 years to really get a foothold and get moving. And we didn't have the challenges that international opportunities have in the UK. We're UK residents. We knew the infrastructure. We knew a lot about our business coming in, and we found it difficult. It is very, very difficult. But you guys, you ladies and gentlemen, you're coming into a new culture, a new country, new ways of working, and we really, as Nick said in the event, we bow down to you. We hold our hands up and congratulate you for what it is that you're looking to achieve, and what it is that you do achieve when you come here, the risks that you take. And today's guest has moved globally with her family a number of times, working in many countries, but she's also the driving force in our team who helps you settle and achieve your potential. So bearing that in mind, let's see if the tech works today, if it didn't last week with Harriet. Karen, are you there? Yes, you are there. Absolutely fantastic. Karen, are you well?
Hello, good morning, Rich. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad at all, thank you. I was just about to grab a drink then. You asked me a question back. I'm very well, thank you very much. I mean, putting the sadness of what's happened over the last week to one side, there's lots of amazing positive things happening. And we shouldn't let that dominate things. So, yeah, I mean, as you know, more better than anyone, the Olympics is always an exciting time.
Absolutely. What a wonderful opportunity to bring all nations together, all different countries, in peace and harmony, and enable people to participate in a positive arena, and be the best they can be, because that's ultimately, why they're there.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And again, we were talking before What a fantastic range of characters this year.
Just phenomenal. I mean, from every sport, I think
Yeah,
every sport that I've watched, there have been characters in there that and people that are doing incredible things and doing surprising things. I
yeah.
was watching the gymnastics yesterday, and Simone Biles, the American, who's an absolute
Oh,
superstar,
yeah.
has been through so many difficulties and faced so many challenges. And she's worked closely with her coach, and she's come back to the Olympics and won a huge number of gold medals for both herself and her country. But surprisingly, on the floor yesterday, on the floor routine, she was beaten into second place by somebody from Brazil who was a bit of an underdog that actually got in there, did their thing, raised their game, and walked away as a winner. Which how what an incredible story!
There are so many lessons there, aren't there, as well? So many lessons, and again,
Absolutely.
we were talking. I love the. I've seen real characters for in pistol shooting from Far East, and we've got the Turkish chap, of course, as well, who's an absolute star. We've had scandal in the 100 meters. There's controversy in the boxing, and but it's just an amazing Olympics. I think.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
the Winter Olympics. So I love the Summer Olympics, but I do love the Winter Olympics as well.
Is that because of the ice
Uh,
hockey?
the speed, ice hockey, snowboarding, skiing, the speed, but we're not there for 2 years. That's our conversation on the 7th of August, 2026, I guess. So let's move on. Kat, I'm going to dive straight into a question if I can. When working abroad, because I mentioned previously that you have worked abroad a lot and had to move with your family. What's the biggest challenge in settling down and getting going and gaining some momentum and stability?
Thanks, Rich. That's a great question. I think when you move anywhere, there's a period of uncertainty, there's a period of difficulty. I know you've recently moved. I don't know if you've unpacked all your boxes yet
No,
for those first few weeks.
absolutely
You
not.
can't find anything, you don't know how to do anything, you don't know where anything is, and you've got all those life logistics to sort out. Well, how do I find a doctor? Where is the supermarket? How do I fill my car with petrol? What do I do with the kids, the dogs? My life, how do I organize all these different things so I can even start to look at my business. So when you first move to a new country specifically, you don't know where anything is, and likely is you don't know anybody either, so there really is no support network and nobody to help you. So I think the first real challenge that you face is, how do I organize myself, my life, to enable me to then clear my mind enough to look at what I have to do from a work perspective. And of course, there are many different layers of challenge on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think the one big thing there, the one thing that I've always thought about people coming to the UK, I always thought if I started a business in any other country, wherever it was, um, where would I start? Particularly if it wasn't my first language, I didn't understand the culture of the country. But then you got the culture of the country and the culture of business, and they're two quite different things. Even then, I can't remember who I was speaking to. I think it was Andy Henderson when I was saying, is there such thing as a singular British business culture? Because when it comes to sales, for example, um, I hate being cold called. I'm not mad on people sending me a LinkedIn message saying, "Hi, how are you today?" And that's it. And you know it's an opening line because, and I feel sorry for them in a way because they're trying to build a relationship that would result in them trying to sell something to me. But I'm really sort of quite stubborn and closed to that. Whereas other people, they love it. They're quite open to it, and I guess you have so many subcultures. I wonder if it's the same all over the world, or whether the UK is just a very unique and complex place. I guess it doesn't differ in different places.
I think it's all about understanding the culture of that country that you're in and engaging with that culture. I'm going to tell you a little story, if I may.
Fire away,
So
please
I went
do.
on holidays. I went away to a Muslim country with some girlfriends, and we were walking down the street, and we walked past a cafe, and a lot of people sitting outside the cafe. And as we walked past, they were clearly very angry and started shouting at us, waving their fists at us, being quite aggressive, and we were really quite frightened. So we jumped into the nearest shop. And in the shop, the shopkeeper there was very polite, very kind, and he spoke to us and started chatting to us. And I said to him, I've just experienced something really unpleasant outside. I've walked past a cafe, and I've had all these people shouting at me and waving fists, clearly very angry with me. And he said, well, it's because of the way you're dressed. And I said, what do you mean? I've got shorts and a t-shirt on. And he said, in our country, you need to cover your legs and cover your arms. So we said, oh my gosh, so what, we've actually upset the people of the country that live here.
Yeah.
So he sold us some robes with long sleeves and a long skirt piece. So we went out fully covered from head to toe in a long dress, for want of a better word. And as we walked out, the people in the cafe, the same people that 2 minutes earlier had been shouting at us and waving fists, actually stood up and cheered. And we went to speak to them, and they said we're so grateful for you respecting our culture, respecting our way of living, and we very quickly turned something that was a really nasty experience into a really positive thing by understanding the culture, by having some kind advice from the shopkeeper, who was able to guide us as to what we needed to do. And subsequently, we built really good relationships with the people. And I think that very much carries into business as well. So if you can build this, recognize the culture, and I know Kelly Noon has talked about that a lot in one of the other coffee morning sessions. If you can understand the culture, respect it, and work alongside it, you can build those positive relationships, and you can find a way to make things successful. And building relationships, of course, is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, isn't it? Because again, there are so many, and I've heard similar stories of how people have behaved or spoken in a whole range of countries. I had a book, just again a small sort of side story. I had a book when I met my wife. She spoke Spanish. I didn't speak any Spanish. I still don't. But I found this funny book in the local shop. Phrases that can be misinterpreted between English and Spanish. And it was amazing how you could say something totally innocent, but the literal translation is quite innocent, but it has a slang meaning or a separate meaning, which could be quite rude. It was quite a funny book to say how you could say something so innocent and it be translated in a totally separate way. But you get in, the language, the actions, the words. So many things could cause offence inadvertently. But if you going to any other country could have had one piece of support, what would it have been? Is there something that if you could have a person who advised you on something, what would that advice have been? I'm not talking specifically, don't go out wearing shorts and a t-shirt, but more generically, what area would you want help in above any others?
Yeah, thanks, Rich. That's a really interesting question. I think when you move to a new country, you are overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that you need to do. And I think knowledge is mostly freely available on the internet. So you can go on the internet and you can search for words and you can search for knowledge. I think what I find difficult, and I know quite a lot of people in a similar situation find the same, is that what do I do first? What are my priorities? What do I need to do now, and what can I leave until later? And fuddling your brain of all these different conflicting things that you need to do, and making yourself a clear plan and being able to prioritize and say, that comes first, that comes second, that comes third. And then once you've got that clear plan, it just doesn't seem so overwhelming anymore. You've got bite-sized steps and a way to be able to go from where you are with this big brain fog of stuff that you need to do, and turning that into something that's achievable. You can see a way through the mugginess of tasks that you've got to do. So I think having somebody that will help me to establish what's the plan, what do you do first, what do you do next, and how do you then implement that plan and make it happen. So I think it's maybe less about the information, that's important as well, and more about the helping me personally to understand how do I progress and how do I move forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the settling. We're getting some great questions coming in already. And again, I remember the first time that I went to. I'm pretty sure it was Moscow. I'd always been aware that if I'd held a door open in the UK for certain cultures, there was never a thank you, never a sign of appreciation. And I was in Moscow, and I held the door open for someone, and our guide at the time, family member, said, don't do that, you don't do that. And I said, why not? And he said, well, the person you're going to hold the door open for would see that as you basically saying, you're not capable of opening your own door, so I'm holding it for you. And I was I was only 18. I was stunned and I was shocked, thinking I was trying to do something that I perceived as polite, but the interpretation from that person is I'm looking down upon them because I'm basically saying you can't open your own door. And that was, and I suddenly understood why certain races or religions didn't say thank you when you hold the door open for them in the UK. It's not rudeness. I mean, in fact, I'm being rude to them by taking, and it makes you realise. I think there are certain stories and events that open your eyes to the wider world and make you think that didn't even cross my mind. I think, but you know, we've got a comment from Blue the Beetle. Sharing stories is so key to others to do the right thing. And how do you know the rules when you get into it? It'd be great if you had a country 101 that said, okay, if you're going to the certain countries, don't have exposed skin. If you go into certain countries, don't hold doors open for people. Don't be overly polite, and don't do the things that are deemed relatively normal in Britain. But turning that around, I sort of hadn't prompted this one previously. If there was a 101, and I'll help you on this one, I don't know the answer yet. If there was a 101 of top 3 things to do when you get to Britain, are there things you think people should be aware of in other countries? I've probably put us both on the spot here with quite a difficult question. But if someone's coming to the UK, what would your first bit of advice to them be?
Yeah, so firstly, I think is very much to be open and willing to listen. So guaranteed, people get things wrong in every country all of the time. But seeking to understand why did that go wrong, what happened, and in your instance there, you were able to have some advice and guidance with opening a door. Certainly in my example as well of when I made the mistake with the clothing, that luckily the shopkeeper was able to give me help and advice and guidance. So being open and willing to say this didn't go right, can you help me understand why, and having somebody there to help you, I think would be a first top tip. A second thing in the UK is just kindness and politeness. I think it's something that the UK and the British culture like and enjoy. And if you're kind and polite to somebody, it's very difficult for them to get angry. So they understand that you're trying your best. So that would be probably the second thing that I would advise. And thirdly, being open to help. So seeking support and seeking advice and guidance in the understanding that actually you don't know how a country works. So having somebody there that's an expert to guide you and say what you can and can't do. So maybe not quite the answer you were looking for there,
No,
Rich,
it is really. It is. I think this naturally takes the conversation over to community. And the one thing that I've always found, I've always believed, and correct me if you think I'm wrong here, is that when we have international entrepreneurs joining the Innovation International community, it's nice that they can come to someone who's lived their life in the UK to say, okay, how would you do this and how would you do that, or how would I do this and how would I do that? But equally, they have people from similar cultures to say, I'm missing this, or hey, I thought you did it this way, but how do you actually do it? Because whereas I can explain how something is done in Britain, I don't always appreciate how it differs from where they've come from. So again, I guess the combination between having people from similar areas to talk to, combined with expert support in the UK who know the country and the culture and everything inside out is quite useful.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you can go to somebody who experiences the same as you and say, how did you deal with this? So you've got an expert in your coach or the person that you're working with, but you've then also got your own community, or community from your own country or from other countries who can say, well, look, I tried this and that really worked for me. So I think the community is really important in, giving belonging. The sense of being part of something bigger than you is a really important psychological bonus, and really can give you a competitive edge. But also to help guide, well, okay, that worked for that person, maybe I'll try that. So I think we've got several facets that would really help individuals and give them every chance to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I mean, it's funny because again, Nick and I, obviously we've got the whole team to be fair, but Nick and I carved the majority of our career in providing business support, and providing business support to a resident entrepreneur is so different to providing one to an international entrepreneur, mainly well, for two reasons. Firstly, if a resident entrepreneur starts a venture that doesn't work, then they give up the venture and they have to get a job. They don't. Their position in the country isn't at risk. But I'm guessing what stunned me a lot when we started Innovate International, my impression was that people coming over would need a little bit of business help akin to UK residents. But my observations, and again, this is sort of more of a question than the point, is there seems to be as much demand and importance on personal help as there is on actual business support, how to sell, finding partners, and so on.
Absolutely, Rich. That's a really good observation, and I'm going to ask you. I'm going to bring back the Olympics because obviously it's my favourite thing. Have you been watching the Olympics?
Certainly, yeah. Well, not all of it, but lots of it.
Brilliant. And what? So all those athletes doing incredible things in lots of different sports. Trying to be the best that they can be. How do they get to there? How do they get to be an Olympian? How do they get to represent their country and do that sport at that level? What's the common denominator?
Yeah, a hell of a lot of training under very good supervision, I guess. A lot combined with some very good natural ability.
Yeah, absolutely. So the natural ability of that athlete, but also the support network that they've got around them, the coaches that they've got, they're so they have their specialists and their physios and nutritionists, but it's their coach and the relationship with that coach in quite a lot of those sports are the things that will make that person successful. Simone Biles could be a fantastic gymnast, but without her coach, she's never going to get to the Olympics and never going to perform at the level that she could. And she has such a close relationship with her coach. They've got each other's backs. They look out for each other. They bring out the best in each other. She leans on her coach. And I think, in the UK, it's a similar thing. And what we do in the UK exceptionally well that maybe other countries don't do as well is that our sports coaching is incredible, but our business coaching is incredible too. And enabling businesses to succeed by having a really good coach to get you on your A game, to get you doing what you do best, and to make sure that, and they will challenge you, your coach will challenge you, but they will have your back, they will get you to where you need to be and encourage you to be the best that you can be. It's really tough to do it on your own, whether that be sport or business. But if you've got a really good, decent coach alongside you, then you've got a competitive edge. And I think in the UK, we do business coaching very well. And maybe other countries haven't experienced business coaching before. I know I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs internationally who just haven't experienced it. And it's, why would a CEO or, a senior person in a big company need a coach? But everybody does. Olympic athletes need coaches, and the highest, biggest, most successful business leader also needs a coach. So I think what we do in the UK very well is that we've learned from our sports coaching and we've introduced it into our business coaching. And I think that's a really, really, real game changer.
Absolutely. At this point, this conversation could go in so many different directions and could go on for a lot longer. But the two things that jump straight to me there is, I think the other thing is the coach can guide you, but you have to put the effort in yourself to make it work. And all of these athletes, they train continuously. They're developing their skills, they're developing their routines, they're developing their competencies, they're working their muscles, they're getting stronger. And again, it's absolutely no different in business. I was going to mention this last week with Harriet, and I didn't get around to it, but a guy came to me once and said, I can make you look like you're the best person in the industry. And I said, I don't want to look like I'm the best person in the industry. I want to be the best person in the industry. It's a massive difference. And I mean, it was fraudulent. It was all about marketing and making you look better than you are and deliver things you can't deliver. But I want to train and improve myself. That's why we always look to continually improve. So I think the effort is a massive thing as well. But the other thing was go back business coaching in the UK. 10 years ago. The problem was, and it still is in some areas, they try, certain programs, especially the government programs, try and make everyone a jack of all trades. So what they'll do, for example, they'll say, hey, do this course on selling. Hey, do this course on marketing. Hey, do this course on finance. Do this course on... And there's this assumption there that an entrepreneur should be everything. And I'm amazing with numbers. I'm useless if you put a pound sign in front of them. So I don't deal with finance. Nick's great with finance. We also have an accountant. That's what the accountant's for. Equally, I don't sell. When I say I don't sell well, this program specifically, I love it so much I can tell people about it and they naturally want to buy it. But when it comes to selling something else, I hate cold conversations. I hate trying to sell something to someone. I hate, again, it's that pound sign. I hate asking for money in return for something. So the challenge I used to have with UK business support is it tried to turn people into a jack of all trades where they never would be. Very few people are amazing at everything. Olympians. But the big question there I have really is, as a coach, how do you know when someone needs external help with something because it's just not their thing? For example, sales or finance or something else.
That's a great question, Rich. Thank you. So I think where you're looking at skills, the first thing would be to look at what are the skills you need to be able to do that thing. So it might be with selling, what are the skills you need to enable you to understand, can I do the selling? So there may be a skills or a knowledge gap there. So the first thing to establish from a coaching perspective is where are the gaps here? And it might be that it's something you don't like because you don't know how to do it. And once you know how to do it, you like it and you find you can do it. So the first thing to identify, is there a skills gap? Is there a skills gap there? Yeah. If there's not, or if that's something that person doesn't want to engage with, what are the solutions? So I would want to explore with an individual, is this business critical? Yes or no? If it's not, then you don't need to do it. So you might be trying to do something and upskilling something that's actually not relevant and going to make no difference to your business. So understanding the impact of this thing on your business would be something that I would want to draw out from that individual. And then following that, if it is something that's business critical, and that individual doesn't want to do it, doesn't have the skills to do it, then what are the solutions there? Yeah. Outsourcing is an immediate one that you could look at, or could you find somebody else within the business that does have that skill set? So it's about matching tasks with an individual that can and wants to do them. Yeah, absolutely. So I think those are the steps as a coach that I would go through with an individual to identify where are the holes and how do we fill them.
I think that's great, again, because it's given everyone watching this the understanding that they're not expected to be everything. Everyone does have gaps in their skill set, but there are ways to fill those, and having a gap in your skill set is not a weakness. I think I felt as a younger entrepreneur 10 years ago that I had to do everything, and I thought, well, maybe I'll never succeed because I'm not good with finance or I'm not good with sales. But again, I mean, that's where the partnership between myself and Nick works perfectly. I'm going to finish off 10:28. I'm going to finish off on one key question, and it's, I think, it's more putting the community's mind to rest that there's a thick wall between what we do with the Home Office and helping them grow a business, because the Home Office want to see them have successful businesses. But as a business, we're so closely connected to the Home Office as an endorsing body. How do you build that trust with someone to say, look, if you're having problems, you can talk to me about those problems, because our mission is to help you succeed, not catch you up. And we're not going to suddenly report to the Home Office, hey, they're having challenges. You know, we want to help you succeed. Sure, okay, if things get to a certain point, for example, a review point in your business, it's not working, or you've gone and got a job and you're not working in your business, then there are points where reports have to be made to the Home Office. But that's not a part of the coaching relationship. That, you know, we want to help people succeed, not catch them out. And how do you provide that confidence that this is not a chance for us to tell the Home Office that they're not doing so well, but a chance to nurture them and help them become successful?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rich, and I think that building that trust is so vital. And I know the worst thing for me as a coach is when an entrepreneur tells me something just before they're about to apply for the next endorsement that they haven't told me previously, and we've run out of time to solve that problem. So trust and honesty and belief in your coach is so important. If an entrepreneur tells me, Karen, I've done this thing, and and it's not within the rules or it's not allowed, they've told me early or they've consulted me on, I'm thinking about doing this, how would that fit?
Yeah.
We can possibly shape that to make it beneficial to both the visa scheme and that individual business. So that trust is vital in understanding what is happening. And the earlier we could do that, the better outcomes we potentially have to be able to resolve that or shape it in a slightly different way to make it beneficial for both the entrepreneur and the future of the business. So building that trust early is really, really important. And I would just like to say that to every entrepreneur that I work with, I think they understand fairly quickly. In the early days of relationship might be a little bit more difficult in them saying, well, what do I tell her? What can I trust her with? But those entrepreneurs that have trusted me and shared things with me have resulted in positive outcomes because we've been able to do something about it. So my message to all the entrepreneurs is just be honest with your coach, because they will help you and guide you to how to resolve the problems. If you've got something going on that you're thinking, oh my goodness me, this is awful, what do I do? Tell your coach, because they will help you to unravel that and turn it into something positive.
Fantastic. And again, if things aren't going to plan, tell us early, because we're here to help you. That's our whole, we are ultimately, yes, we're an endorsing body, but we're an endorsing body as a part of a bigger business support organisation. Your success is our mission, and we're all after that shared goal. We've got a few stories coming in, just again, a very interesting one to finish off on. 10:31, episode 7, last episode for our summer break. We've overrun on every single episode, so why break the habit of a lifetime? Dr. Ali, many thanks for your comments through this session as well. And Dr. Ali mentioned that a smile is so important in the UK. You smile to someone and they often smile back, and it helps just even people in the street, random people in the street. It's a nice thing. It's things, I mean, again, the difference between the north and the south of England. We know in Cardiff and in the north, you sometimes walk down the street and speak to a stranger. If you do it in certain parts of the south, they'll look at you as if to say, do you know me? So there are nuances and differences. But again, Dr. Ali mentioned that he was in Moscow and went to smile to people he was walking past. And if we look at, for example, sexuality, in the UK, you smile at people. It's a nice thing to do. In certain countries, if you smile at another man, it implies possibly that you might like that person. So being careful on what you do. In some countries, men walk around and hold hands as a sign of friendship. And it's absolutely no sign, nothing to do with sexuality at all. It's all to do with friendship. So it's just how simple things like smiles, holding hands can be interpreted so different in such different ways in different countries. Please do take the time to follow Karen. I'm going to put Karen's details on the page now. You'll find Karen on LinkedIn, Karen Hockenhull. And again, if you're in a community, you should be engaged with either Karen or Ali or Catherine. Karen, many thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. I think such valuable advice to everyone out there. I'm going to go back to the main screen now again. Thanks, Karen, once more. We're now having a 2-week break from Tuesday Morning Coffee Club. When Tuesday Morning Coffee Club comes back towards the end of August, we will be launching some new services that give you access to a wider range of subject-specific experts. So please watch this space. Understand our team are here to help. Whilst Tuesday Morning Coffee Club is taking a 2-week break, the team aren't. We're still here doing our work, supporting your growth, assessing your applications and so on. But again, watch this space. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched our first 7 episodes of Tuesday Morning Coffee Club, and for all of our guests from our first guest, Chris Ulrich, all the way through to Karen this week. We will be back towards the end of August. We've got some amazing guests lined up. If there are subjects that you want us to talk about, please email us, let us know, or communicate with us over LinkedIn. Again, I'll just drop Karen's page up very quickly. There we go, Karen Hockenhull, available on LinkedIn. And from myself and all the team at Innovation International, enjoy the summer. Please stay safe. Britain will return to a state of normality relatively soon, and enjoy the rest of the Olympics as well. Thank you very much all. Goodbye.